Show Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and we're talking about bullying and jealousy tonight, everything from the playground to workplace harassment, and what kinds of tools you can use to equip yourself or to bully-proof your child. Don't forget to call in tonight. The number that's listed on your screen will allow you to call us and ask our guests some questions or share your stories, comments, and concerns. So just before we went to break, we talked a little bit, Kathy, about jealousy and about bullying that occurs between women and amongst women. And I want to delve more into this idea, this coping mechanism of shrinking into yourself, making yourself small to make others feel big. And from the stories I've heard among other women, some of my girlfriends, it's particularly pervasive in the workplace in terms of not wanting to pose a threat to another woman of influence or another woman of power. I have a friend who told me a story about how when she applies for a job and she knows that the hiring manager is male, she'll bring forth her resume in all its glory with all her achievements and accomplishments on there and not feel the need to censor anything. But if she knows that the hiring manager is female, and particularly someone who's closer in age to her, she'll, for lack of a better term, she'll kind of dumb down her resume a little bit, take a few things out to not appear quite so intimidating. And isn't it terrible that we have to do that? Is there a better way?
Of course there's a better way. Be who you are. Be proud of who you are. It's interesting because you told me that story earlier in the week in terms of getting prepared for tonight's show, and I took the opportunity to sort of test the waters with some of my circle of girlfriends because I was so shocked by that story. It never occurred to me to play down who I am, right? This is who I am, this is what I can offer, and I'd rather be who I am in a smaller group than pretend to be somebody else in a larger group. So I tested your story, and I was shocked to find the number of women who came back and agreed with that and had said that yes, they were in situations where one woman in particular was moved into a management position, and immediately a woman who she had never met before made it clear that she didn't like her. Simply because of that role. So that jealousy piece that comes into play.
It's sort of like there can only be one alpha dog.
Only one alpha dog. Yeah, and if it's not me, I won't like you. So again, this is really, it's shining the light on that sort of behavior. And it comes down always to the leadership of the organization. It's very much who's influencing, how's the bar being set. If our bar of acceptance is here, we'll never get beyond it, right? If we raise that bar of acceptance to a point where this behavior will not be tolerated, these are the results of this behavior, it's what's tolerated and what's not. And part of the legislation in the Ontario workplaces results in either remedial punishment, which means training, change of behavior, moving to another position, that sort of thing, or punitive. Which is the financial damages, and employers are getting hit all the time. There was an RCMP case not that long ago, a woman who was harassed by a number of her supervisors. She was given a real hassle about leaving early on a maternity leave. Again, a lot of psychological damage that was done to the point where she couldn't even do her duties anymore. And not just at work, but it was impacting her family, her friends, her home life. And the BC courts awarded her just under $1 million in damages. The RCMP appealed that, the Crown appealed that, and the Supreme Court upheld that ruling. So it's you and I and Phil who were paying that almost $1 million penalty. It's taxpayer money that's going there. And all of this comes down to what was the expectation in that work environment? Who allowed those comments to continue? Who allowed that to become an acceptable culture? And it's usually more than one person, but it stops with the leaders.
Well, it's amazing what you can accept as being normal over time.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like the frog that's slowly being boiled in that pot of water that doesn't realize that it's boiling to death.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you find that more women are bullies, more men? Is it even?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really depends on the environment in which there's an equal number, for sure. One of the things we're cautious about, though, is bully is almost being used as the catch-all phrase for anything that's happening. So if you're working for me and I ask you to do your job the way that it's supposed to be done, I'm not bullying you. I have every right to come in and say, this is the expectation, you're not performing to this level of expectation, we need to put you on an improvement program to get you there. And people will scream bully, right? That's not bullying. So part of the things that we do in human resources is, of course, investigate claims, and we need to clarify right off the bat if people are screaming bully because that generates all sorts of interest and brings in the SWAT team, so to speak, because we don't want a bullying culture. We need to really educate what truly is bullying and what is not. And I've had situations where individuals, in these cases I'm thinking of, were both men, that have been falsely accused. And the damage to them is huge. One individual lost his family as a result of the accusation, wasn't able to come into work, and it can take years for these accusations to come through to light, and by then the damage is done. So there really is, be very careful in terms of using the terminology. Make sure that this is something that's truly happening, and bullying tends to be something that is not just a one-off. It's happening over a period of time. If you can't get up in the morning, if you can't sleep at night, if you are avoiding being in certain places, chances are bullying is happening.
And so what are some of the resources that are available to the average person?
Well, from a workplace perspective, you do have the legislation, and Ontario has stepped up the plate and put some more teeth into it, so that's good. Most of our legislation is covered under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Canadian Mental Health Association for sure. There's a number of bullying websites. If you just go on and search workplace bullying, you'll get a number of different links. I thought about bringing those links. If anybody wants them, call in the station. I'll leave you the links.
Or leave a post on your Facebook
I'll put
page.
them on my Facebook page, yeah, because there's quite a few out there. Her Ties HR, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Phil, I want to hear more about these 9 treasures that you teach to kids.
Sure, thank you. I just want to honor my colleague, Kathy, over here. I'm just amazed by her wealth of knowledge.
Thank you.
But also sad to hear about all those workplace issues, and I'm happy to sit beside her today to deal with it, how we can tackle it, hopefully at the roots.
That's right.
With
Get
kids.
them here and they don't become the workplace bullies. Do that good work, Phil.
Thank you. There's the quote that says, it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken adults, or systems, if you will. So for me, my whole philosophy is to build ourselves and our children so strong on the inside that you can deal with anything on the outside. So whether it's a physical face-to-face altercation or cyberbullying. And so the 9 treasures I talk about, number 1, I alluded to earlier, is a respectfulness in yourself. So taking care of yourself in your mind, body, and your spirit, believing in yourself, believing that you are a worthy person, worthy of love, worthy of peace, worthy of joy and happiness. Number 2 is I talk about fitness in your body, right? I mentioned earlier that when you lose yourself into an activity such as sports or arts or performing arts, then you tend to find yourself. I've met so many people who were able to channel their energy physically outwards so that they can deal with bullying and find new circles of friends. And I like to tell the kids that there's 3 keys to a great day. Number 1 is a great night's sleep, a great breakfast, number 2, and number 3, a great attitude.
So many adults could benefit from this advice.
Absolutely. Number 3, I talk about toughness in your mind. One of the top 2 things that people relate to when you think about a black belt of martial arts is focus and discipline. So I believe if we help them develop focus and discipline, as well as knowledge, this is how you develop toughness in your mind. And I have this thing when I go into school assemblies and I have an entire school of hundreds of kids say, who can pass Master Phil's focus test? Who can look at my finger for at least 10 seconds? What is focus? Focus is looking ahead in one direction, thinking about one thing only. And I go on, and it's a joy to behold that kids can indeed focus. And then talk about discipline. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. At home, make sure you say, yes, mom. Yes, dad. Right? That whole respect that hopefully ingrained in their hearts, at school, and in their homes. And then I talk about knowledge, which is leaders or readers. Then I talk about number 4, treasure number 4 is kindness in your actions. So as an example, I have kids opening doors. Doors of opportunity. I didn't learn this through martial arts. I learned this from my mama. My mom raised me as a single mom, me and my brother as a single mom, and I think it's her love that got me through all the earlier bullying years before. I trained in martial arts, so I honor my mom for that. But kindness in your actions also means including others that we talk about, not shunning others, making them feel welcome, inclusive. The new kid in class.
Treat others the way you'd like to be treated.
Actually, what I learned is actually that's a golden rule. What I've actually learned is the platinum rule by Dr. Tony Alessandra, and he says treat others the way they would like to be treated. right? Because we all like to be treated in a different way. Number 5 is I talk about assertiveness in your behavior. Remember we talked about not being too passive, not being too aggressive. There's an assertive stance, which is walking with confidence, appropriate eye contact, an assertive stance. Number 6, I talk about braveness in your heart. And braveness in your heart is encapsulated in this line, and that is when you lose, right? We usually feel dejected like this. When you lose, hold your head up with dignity. And when you win, then bow down your head with humility. So it's that steadfastness, that balance. Because you often see kids, you know, they're crying if something goes wrong, or they're overly cheering when some things goes right. But what if you had an even keel, so that you prepare for the ups and downs of life? And then the final 3 treasures, I talk about greatness in your life. And I ask the kids, hey, did you ever make a mistake? Yes, sir. Whoever blamed their little brother or sister? Everyone raises their hand. So I say, you know what? Take responsibility. Take responsibility. Whenever there's a situation, there's a conflict, I like to take responsibility for my part in the whole situation, and also to be able to say you're sorry, and also show forgiveness. I think when we show forgiveness and we also have the courage to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, then there's greatness in your life. And then number 8 is boldness in your dreams. I talk about dreams with the kids, because if there's anything the viewers can go home with is, yes, the show is about bullying and jealousy, but we have a lot better things to spend our lives on. True. And that's why I say beyond. So once we have the tools and the strength from the inside in mind, body, spirit to deal with bullying and the other resources that you mentioned, then they can go on to talk about their dreams. And you'd be amazed at some of the stuff the kids would talk about. I want to be a point guard for the Golden State Warriors. You know, I want to play in the NHL, right? Big. I want to have access to education and medicine world round. Right? So this is amazing stuff. So I allow them to dream, and we talk about your dreams, draw your dreams, write down your dreams. And then finally, I talk about peacefulness in your world, because at the end of the day, it's all about building a more peaceful world.
I love that. And we're almost at the end of our show. Where can schools, parents, anyone who wants to find you, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Sure.
My website is blackbeltexcellence.com, and click on Bully Busters and you'll find all the information there. I look forward to bringing Bully Busters at your schools.
Perfect. And finally, Kathy, you have a giveaway that people can enter your Facebook page to win.
Yeah, so you can go onto Facebook and just search for Herties HR, Herties HR, or you can go to my website, which is just herties.com.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you both so much for coming onto the show tonight, sharing your expertise. Very relevant topic. I'm sure our viewers learned a lot from you tonight. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Wonderful.
Thought your awesomeness.
Thank you so much. Make sure you come back next week to join my colleague Moni Dojeje in the studio. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And don't forget to check out Kathy Herties' Facebook page, Herties HR, in order to win a giveaway valued at $300. Have a good night.